Our first writer is Joan Colby. Joan has published widely in journals such as Poetry, Atlanta Review, and the South Dakota Review. Her awards include 2 Illinois Arts Council Literary Awards and an Illinois Arts Council Fellowship in Literature. She's published 16 books, including selected poems from Future Cycle Press, which received the 2013 Future Cycle Prize, and Ribcage from Glass Lyre Press, which received the 2015 Cathara Book Prize. She has 2 books coming in 2016 and 2017. One of her poems is among the winners of the 2016 Atlantic Review International Poetry Contest. Colby is also a senior editor of Future Cycle Press and an associate editor of Kentucky Review. There's even more information on our website, joancolby.com. Joan, please come up. Is that comfortable?
That seems good, yes.
All right, got it.
I'm going to read some poems from my latest book, Ribcage, and all these poems started out, I thought of them as body parts poems, and I'll identify what body part the poem is referring to, although it doesn't say so in the title. You're meant to find that out from the context. So this poem is the title poem, Ribcage. And the actual title is In Which the Heart Takes Ease. Harp that strums with the soul of harmony, haunting curve of bone, the sweetest meat. Here's where breath and meter meet, the drum of pulse, a scarlet tanager, shaped to cage the shudder of a caught bird, tempestuous, a flutter of red wings, areas of frost or melt, the burning absolutions of a turning season. Here's the crafted Windsor chair in which the heart takes ease. Remember how woman sprang from rib as man slept unaware, the delicate bend like willows, like the compromise of love. And the next poem is based on the brain, titled Stalled in the Cosmos. Her gestures, that strange salute to an invisible interrogator, were, the neurologist said, due to degeneration of the frontal lobe, which controls movement. She says it makes her feel better. She's 92. This is what happens. At least her memory is intact. The synapses like little spaceships flying from neuron to neuron. When I can't recall a word, I think of that silvery shape stalled in the cosmos, a time warp or a veil of poisonous fog. Then, flash, it lands, and I know. In the test of right or left-brained, I was a perfect centrist. You'd think that would be good, but no. Impossible decisions like hovercraft that have lost direction or altitude, a wire walker stuck in the art of balance. The myelin sheath thins and you can no longer walk. A failure of dopamine and you can no longer sing. A stroke flooding or clotting until you are one-sided as a politician. A mistake in DNA, and at the age of 40 you begin to shake and stagger. You wave your arms. A woman with breast cancer has them cut off the way you take down a tree that threatened the house. But the bad cells, like burglars, climbed through the hot wires of ganglia to squat in the parlor of the cerebellum, spraying tendrils of graffiti. Gray matter, this sour pudding, this stuffing in our heads, this is all we have to reason with, this balled up dust and hair from under the bed. And this one is based on the lungs, called Coughing Up Roses. Soaring like turkey vultures on the updrafts effortlessly, beneath notice, how the diaphragm squeezes them into the gymnastic arts of expiration, inspiration, bald red pistons, fraternal twins. a cigarette butt discarded on our drive, someone whose lungs are scarred as if lashed at the mast, the coughing fit, morning hack and spit, a woman in the restroom taking a final drag, tomorrow the surgery. She still loves it, the way a beaten woman loves the man who weeps drunkenly in her lap, swearing he'll stop. The Lungers, Keats, Mansfield, Lawrence, Doc Holliday, the white flag of the Magic Mountain, Camille on her chase, the Bronte sisters coughing up roses, pneumonia, the old man's friend, settling in like a vagrant in a foreclosed house, pulling a woolly blanket over his head. Oh, bellows of existence, the ins and outs, the dreaded spot or the vast capacity of the long-distance swimmer. The lobes pumping your calves to cycle uphill struggling for breath, breath in the alveoli circling like a kettle of vultures. Say it, the old word, buzzards, perched on the bed rail as you draw the last rattling lungful. And the final body one that I will read is The Foot. The title is Envelope of Servitude. 28 bones, the fifth metatarsal the most frequently fractured, bearing the weight of the body like a pack mule laden with gold dust. Bare, it forms the hoof of a callus. Confined, it learns the audacity of fashion. Bunions like burls of an oak, corn squeezed with the pointed toes of stilettos. The Chinese declared a big foot offensive, folded the instep of girls into the envelope of servitude. Half the Union Army went barefoot into battle, their provisioned shoes rotting. Half the women of the world soaked their tired feet at night. Others flip-flop unceremonially, a strap harnessing toes like a five in hand, hauling the coach of vertical ambition. The flat foot that saves a man from gunfire. The high arch of social mobility. Here's one who loves the foot beyond comprehension, sucking the toes, collecting the shapely slippers, as if what supported the body in its upright version must be worshipped. How the club foot lamed Byron into an excess of poetry. Achilles' vulnerability, tendon the wolf seizes to eat its prey alive. Mary, armed with a halo, foot upon the serpent, preparing to ascend into the realm of the footless. Then the second part of this book is devoted to poems about the mind, contrast to the body. And this poem is called Subjects, after Wisława Szymborska. And the first line quotes something she said. No more poems are to be written about spring. Ordinary subjects are blessed, inkwells or eggs, an emerald ring. Only the most adroit shall tackle the large abstractions, truth, beauty, justice. So we turn to the visible, such as a fingernail in which a sun rises or sets in a cuticle of flesh. A faded towel hangs from a rack, disconsolate as an abbess accused of sorcery. A question marks hook an eye that will never catch, never achieve the perfection of an answer that can't be questioned. Seas river stones that drying have lost all luster. Remember how they glistened as the waters lapped, and find words to bring that back. And I'll read one final one. We have some very large, very old bridal wreath bushes on our property that are just absolutely luscious in the spring and don't last too long. So the title is Bridal Wreath. True name, Spirea, but we say bridal wreath for the latent branches of its blossoms, a heaviness cascading like love or grief, promises made with purpose. Serious as a gravestone that holds the long vesture of vows kept or broken. How these flowers weigh the heart with an ambition to outlast loveliness. How lacking scent they conjure the eye of the beholder. The way her dress rustled in the spring, or the cleft of his chin, that first glimpse of a chord, that as yet unpossessed sexual intimacy. The vast bushes stagger beneath their finery, their gusto of white on white clusters. How life enjoins us to grasp abundance, to grasp and gladden, gorge on brevity. And one last poem, and this was written for my mother, who lived with us to the end of her life, and it's called The Wingback Chair. I picture her sitting in the wingback chair before the window framed with the pendulous branches of the stricken ash. A small glass of ginger ale on the side table, her tissues, the soft gardening gloves to keep her from scratching her face, skin so delicate, each bruise an archipelago of age. It is the middle of things she can't see, the blur where faces used to be. She misunderstands the television, confiding to her best ear. Marlene Dietrich died at 90 in her parents' apartment. How good they could be with her. Later the news, Paris apartment. Easy to rationalize how she got it wrong, harder to accept how she failed to question. She pulls her hair out strand by strand as if about to weave a tale like those she once told me. Mary Rudd, who wielded a horsehair to build an impenetrable barrier as she fled a father's vengeance with her true love. These barriers, I ask about the talking book she listened to last night. Informational, she says, wincing from my interrogations. I know it's the short-term memory bank that is robbed hourly. How old-style safes are safer, but the bullion of her lost mother, father, sisters, brothers, husband makes her cry. Every day I reassess the advantages of great age, how people wish to live 100 years. What are they thinking? If I retain my faculties, they say, not knowing that makes it worse. I could chop these images into sparkling shards, but the way she diminished was slow and easy, a repetitive gesture like a salute to all the angels attending her departure. The neurologist explains deterioration of the frontal lobe, but I don't know. I don't know what she is seeing with the blind eye of attrition. The chair's plush wings rise behind her.